So good afternoon. So we're so happy to invite Bernice and Janice Poon to help us organize this workshop entitled "Old Memories and New Audiences: Exploring the Journey of Performing Arts Museum and Archives." And this is we have a cozy atmosphere so that we can have deeper conversations. So of course, the Performing Arts Museum and Archives has been an important and old issue, but we always have new audiences, new technologies, and new thoughts. So we're still exploring it, especially the preservation and also the recreation of performing arts materials. We're so happy to have Bernice Chen here. Bernice Chen White is currently the General Manager of International Association of Theatre Critics IATC, Hong Kong. She's also the Vice President of the International Association of Libraries, Museums, Archives, and Documentation Centers of the Performing Arts, CIMAS. And she's also a panel member of a lot of committee. Hong Kong Drama Awards, the Hong Kong Theatre Labor, and the IATC Hong Kong Critics Award. And she's also a friend of Hong Kong APA. She was an advisory committee member of the School of Drama, HKAPA, in the academic year 2017 to 2018. She is, I haven't finished. She is also a curator and scholar. She has curated and edited over 50 publishing projects about performing arts. So Bernice has her recent editorial projects have included 10 years of a city-selected Hong Kong plays, 10年城市香港劇本選2003至2011, which has been awarded the 11th Hong Kong Book Prize in 2018. And in 2021, she curated a project as NEP, Beyond Borders, an online archive and education project of Hong Kong theatre and performance photography, 一涉無邊香港劇場影像記錄教育資料庫暨教育數碼資料庫暨教育計劃. And again, she was received the award for arts promotion and education of Hong Kong Arts Development Awards. Wow. So a lot of impressive achievements. So, and we are so happy to invite Janice Poon, senior lecturer, playwright, and dramaturgy and academic officer in the School of Drama. So let's welcome.
So I'm moderating the talk today, and I can see that Bernice has already prepared a very well structured and very fruitful presentation. So we just discussed that. I think I will let her present what she's prepared, and then after that I will moderate the dialogue, and then we welcome any questions and any feedback on her presentation. And while I'm preparing for this talk, it reminds me of a recent publication that we did together. Is a publication of a set builder in Hong Kong who passed away 3 years ago. And while we are preparing and doing the research, and then we, all the editors, we agree that archiving is really, really important for Hong Kong performing arts development. And so without further ado, I will invite Bernice to present her talk, and then we will continue the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really my great honor to be here to present what I have done before, but I think it's just open, and I'm looking forward to have a more experience later on in this particular area. And thank you so much, Janice, as well. And we're good friends. And we just finished a publication. And I'm not here for promotion, but later on, for sure, you'll know more about our publication and also a CIMAS Congress that is going to be held later on in June this year. And it's presented by IATC. So with a lot of kind of experience that related to the field, I think you may think that I am an activist. But I would like to say let me see. I'm not an archivist. I'm not. And I think many people misunderstand that I must be from the field and with a very professional background of being an archivist, and I know a lot of knowledge on setting up an archives or establish a new archive. But I'm sorry, maybe disappointing you, because I'm not from this particular professional area. And I know there's a lot of professional and expertise colleagues here joining the talk today. And I would like to know that my journey of joining in this particular field, even though I'm not an archivist, I think by the time I'm now still a very active arts administrator who really concerns about the performing arts documentation, and also what we just talked about, the revitalization of archival materials. So, but I'm not going to let you down, I think, this talk, because I'm going to share with you about some of my journey, why, even though I'm not an archivist, but I still have a passion of doing documentation of performing arts. And so I would like you to know my journey. From 2007, for 10 years' time, I've been involving in a publication called Hong Kong Drama Yearbook. And also later on, we have Situ and also music and on theater as well. And it's a publication presented by the IETCHK. By the time it's 2006, we published the first Hong Kong Drama Yearbook. So this is my first project on documenting performing arts in Hong Kong. And by the time, I think you must know, it's not really, this area of discussion is still not a very popular topic among our practitioners. So it's not, I won't say it's difficult, but it's really challenging for us to present to our practitioner what is the importance of giving your information to us to be contributed in this yearbook. And by the time, I think after 10 years, the time of publishing the yearbook, we have online version and also we have the printed version. And I think by the time when we are still doing the yearbook, we receive a lot of requests from the journalists and also from the researchers about this information of Hong Kong theatre and the recent trends of what theatre happens. So I think it's really important for us to keep all this data. But I think it's also a challenge for Hong Kong practitioners as well, that we relied on the Hong Kong ADC support. And so you will see that the projects kind of stop and take over by the Hong Kong Arts Development Council. And since then, they have their own, I think, expertise of taking over the collection of the materials and also the statistics of the Hong Kong drama and also for the other disciplines of performing arts. So even though we are not involving in this project, you can still find information via the Hong Kong Arts Development Council's website. And later on, I involved in something else, because after I published a few books on theatre's yearbook and about how to collect the information, I think it's time for us to make some changes. And the changes is I would like to know more about what happened to the other countries or other region, other neighbor regions, what they are doing. At least we know, are we on the right track, or is there any other experience that we could share among our practitioners in the field as well? So I curate in 2014 for seminars and workshops on Hong Kong drama archiving cultures, strategy, practices, and developments in performing arts. By the time we invite a lot of practitioners, in particular for the Chinese-speaking drama in this circle. And I also know, because one of our speakers is from Yun Wan Wu, and she is the archivist in Wan Wu Mo Da. And I think it's a very important insight for me that Chen Lao Shi, she let me know, because by the time when she set up the archive for Calgate, and she don't have nothing know about archive, what archive is about. She had no such a knowledge about archiving. But by the time Liu Waimin, the founder and also the artistic director of Calgate, sent her with the support of the Calgate to New York to do a study trip in New York for a lot of dance company. So by the time Chen Lao Shi, she received a lot of experience in New York, how the theater and also dance company in New York set up their own archives and what they are doing and what's the new trends or the development of cinema archive. So she learned a lot from New York and then set up the archive for Yunmen. And I think it's also an inspiration for me that we really need to learn from. Even though there's a lot of practices in Asia, but still in Europe and in US, there's a lot of great experience that we should learn from them. And also, I also know if an artistic director of a company, if he or she had a vision of setting up an archive, and also he had a vision to know why archives is important for drama or dance company, that he or she will have an intention or he have an initiative to ask or to invite some archivists or some expertise to join in the company and to develop the archival materials of that particular company. So I think this vision should be largely promoted in Hong Kong as well, because it's really difficult for I think some small companies in Hong Kong to set up their own archives. But later on, I will also let you know there's some other ways that maybe we can do it. And afterwards, this is some of the photos from that seminar. And later on, I think because I'm not an archivist, so maybe I would think more about what I could involve without that particular professional materials or professional knowledge about archive. What I could do. Maybe set up some small projects or start from some small projects. Maybe they could also help to fill the gap or some blanks in the performing arts documentation. So I started to 2 years a project on the Hong Kong oral history online database project on Hong Kong drama. And I would like to show you the the website as well. I need to stop and then shall I stop and then 係啊，我想開翻幕。Oh, sorry. 係，唔好意思啊，有陣時。係 This is the website that we engaged for 2 years, and we have invited 46 dramatists in Hong Kong from different fields to participate in this project. And And I think it's really good for me as well to learn from these 46 dramatists, because we focus not only on the creative side. We also invite art administrators, critics, and also education practitioners to join this project. But of course, you may know we only have 2 years' time and limited budget. So it's only 46 of dramatists could be interviewed. But I think it's also very important for Hong Kong drama as well. And you may know some of our dramatists maybe some of them are past in this recently years. So it's always for oral history projects, you always difficult to know. And if you can have chance to grab the chance to interview dramatists, just grab this chance to learn from them and also to document their experience. And I think 我係可以去返，我係咪都要 stop share？一定要 like 啦。
因為我 share 嘅。
OK，咁我就可以去返另外嗰邊。我真係唔熟呢一個。
邊個
？sorry，呢個啊。好，我陣間再請同事幫手。So this is a project for 2 years, and afterwards, this is the website that So after all this experience, I think it's really a time for me to let's find some resources from the Hong Kong Arts Development Council, and I really encourage you all to find a chance to maybe it's a very first road trip for me as well, and I initiate a study trip and a research trip in Europe for 2017 and 18, but I stayed there only for I think total 1 month's time. But it's really a great experience for me. And I just talked to Janice that because of preparing this PowerPoint, I found I visited 16 places when I was in Europe. So it's really, I think I was crazy by the time. I think I remember I visited 2 days for an institute or an archive, and I did a lot of interviews, and I also meet a lot of people. And some of the connections are still evolving, like in Hong Kong, like the CMAS conference that I just mentioned about. So I think it's really a good chance for me to have this wonderful trip in Europe. And I learned a lot from a lot of experienced archivists and also people from the documentation expert areas. So I visit Theatre Institute, and also I visit library, archives, and theatre museum. And so in this trip, I think I also by the time I prepared the plan for the Hong Kong ADC, I know I need to go to like the National Theatre Archives, London, and also the Shakespeare Group, and so I have some plans and some places in mind. But in fact, there are some other places. It's really a connection. By the time when I arrived there and met some people over there, and they give a lot of further information and connection to me. So I accidentally, or it's a very good chance for me to know more about archives and the people over there through the trip when I was in Europe. So, but obviously, even though it's 16 of them, but not really everyone is good, or they have their own different challenges that they are encountering. But I will highlight some challenges and opportunities later on for me to share about. Even though some of the problems you think maybe Hong Kong, we also have this kind of challenge. And even though we think maybe in Europe they have a lot of like resources, or they have started their documentation, or they have a more high awareness of documenting their works, but still they have their own challenges and difficulties that they need to encounter. Okay. So government policies and resources. And this is a Netherlands Theatre Institute, TIN. I hope they're still there, but I think so. Because by the time when I visit TIN, they have just restructured the whole institute. By the time when I visit, I think 2 years ago, I think 2015 or something, they are a very big institute with 60 full-time staff over there. But in a few years at the time, they encounter a big challenge because of the change of the cultural policy. Of course, that cultural policy changed because of the head of the cultural administrator changed to someone else. So that policy makes this institute face a big crisis of closing down or to scale down. So it's a really, I'm not saying that it's a common issue that they will encounter, that they may encounter, but it's not a very unusual case. So by the time when I visit TIN, they only have 3 full-time staff, and all their collections and archival materials are moved to Amsterdam University. So it's no longer kept in the institute. By the time when I interview the directors over there, he's still working in the TIN, and I think it's a very sad situation that he's encountering. He was encountering, but he also gave me a very I think very insightful comments about this closing down of TIN. because by the time when TIN was in institute, it was located in a building, which is it's not a very it's an old building. So it's that the building itself physically is not in a very good condition. So even though we kept things, we have to keep it. A constant must know it well. We must to keep it in a very good and professional condition. But but actually, in many of these institutes in Europe, their building are old buildings. It's not. They have to reconstruct it or to transform it to a professional environment for you to keep all this collection. So by the time the director told me, even though they have such a crisis, they think it's not really something bad. Because in a university context and a university environment, they can keep all these collections. You can see how many collections. They have a lot of these objects and also these stage models. All these collections could be collected in a university. But of course, in a university, maybe relatively maybe the people to visit all these archives, they may need a lot of maybe they need to register, or there's a lot of obstacles, or it creates the accessibility of seeing these archives a bit more difficult than keep it in an institute. But for the environment itself and for the condition of keeping all these collections, it's really better to keep it in a university environment. So I think it's also for me a learning from TIN as well. Even though you encounter a challenge, you will never know. Maybe that's good for the collection as well. So it's really something that I learned from this trip to visit TIN. So the next thing is about space. So space is something that in Hong Kong we have a lot of issues on space. But even though in Europe, when I visit ATI, the Arts Theatre Institute in Prague, Czech Republic, they also encounter limitation and also the challenges of space. This is the ATI's entrance. Oh, I have to let you know that ATI, if next time you go to Prague, please visit this ATI, because it's located in a very convenient, like our gym surgery in Hong Kong. And you can imagine, it's really in a tourist area, in the center of Prague. It's very easy to go there and you can access it very easily. And and of course you know, with all this good location, how limited the space will be. And when I visit the director and also interview the director, and also they encounter something that I just learned about, because this building is not a very you really have to transform this building to be a professional archive. And when I visit their library, some of their old books are kept in the shelf. And I asked the librarian, I think I asked a very embarrassing question that made her feel a little bit uncomfortable, because I asked, all these books, you just keep it like this? And she said, oh yes, because because of the building and because of the limited space, and of course resources, they don't have chance to transform this old building into a professional environment, and they just keep the books like this. But she also told me it's because of the winter in Czech Republic and also in Europe. It's not that humid. And she said, oh, it's relatively okay to be kept in such an environment. But of course, you may know how difficult these books, if they keep it for over, I think, 50 years or 16 years, there must be, some, you can't keep books like this, even though it's not a humid weather like Hong Kong. But you may know how difficult this institute are facing, even though they are with a lot of support from the government. They have around, by the time when I visited in 2017, they have around 60 to 70 full-time staff. And also because they're an institute, so they have a lot of publication. I have to mention, because I like this photo very much. This is a very famous, of course I don't know her. She's a very famous performer in Czech. And the archivist told me that she will constantly visit the archives, and she will dig out the news clipping, photos that she donate to the archives and to the institute, and she will come back to the institute to tell stories about her to the archivist, and also like a community that the institute built for the practitioner. And by the time when I visit, she also visit the institute as well. So I took this photo and I like it very much. And this is a set designer, because you may all know the Prague is very famous of their set design and scenography. And the institute also had a very big publication department that they will constantly and frequently do publication on Czech theater. So this is a set of book on scenographers in Czech Republic. Oh, the next challenges that I would like to share with you is about expertise. And because I just told you that I'm not an archivist, but also in Europe, still, of course, they have a lot of like courses and workshops for the archivists to study and also train up. But still, expertise is a very important issue that they encounter. When I visit the Bratislava, Slovak Republic for the Theatre Institute, I interview two archivists over there in Bratislava, and both of the archivists, by the time when I visit them, and they feel a little bit like they share with me a lot of information, but by the time they share with me, they also told me that they both are going to leave the institute soon. And the reason is because of they have find a better opportunity in the museum. And because I think Theatre Institute relatively maybe the environment or the career path, it's not like working in a museum. So even though they find very difficult to make this decision, but still they decided to pursue their career in a national museum. So I think it's also for expertise that this Theatre Institute they encountered with the loss of expertise as well. And because of this competition with other museums and also other documentation sets. And I think next time, if you have time to visit Bratislava and go to this institute as well, because it's an institute that I visited. They had their own theater, and they will present their festival called New Drama Festival. I think every year to promote new plays and new playwrights in Seoul. And development. National Theatre Archives London. This is, I think Janice also know the archivist Aaron Lee as well in the NT archive. And what I mentioned about development is by the time when I talked to Aaron, the archivist in the NT archive, she told me that she had a lot of like opportunities to work with the company, because in the structure of that NT, I think by the time when I don't know if the structure changed in now, but by the time when I visit her, she told me that because the education department and also the archive department are work closely together in the structure of the NT. So you may know, some people may regard archive as something that if you collect it, you keep it well, and then put it aside without using it. But I think in NT, if they structurally they make this gesture, I think it's a good sign for also the public and also for the company as well, how these archival materials and how an archive can actually work with the education department, and also to use this archival material in your education program to build your new audience. I think old memories, if you are not using them or you are not making use of it, and using a dramaturgical is more we could share in this conversation later on, because the way you use it, how you can make use of this material to engage a new audience, it takes a lot of curatorial concept and also dramaturgical thinking of using it. So it's just, of course, exhibition it's a very maybe a common way of showing your collection, but still, how you make this exhibition to be able to talk new stories to your audience and also the young generation, I think it's something really important. And when I visit the National Theatre Archives, and Aaron gave me a lot of inspiration on this particular angle. And I think it's also really accessible for you all to visit the NT Archive because it's just next to the Old Vic Theatre. So what I just mentioned about is about the curatorial and also the dramaturgical thinking of making use of the archival materials. So how to find new audience is something that I also learned from the Victoria and Albert Museum Performing Arts Collection in London. They had big crisis during the COVID because I think that the collection, they would like to close down the collection, and they there's a lot of things happened behind the museum. But by the time when I visited, I have a chance to did an interview with the Performing Arts Collections curator, and he gave me a very new, or to me, it's very inspirational experience or a concept of how he curate the collection of theater collection of the V&A. Because maybe if you have chance to visit the V&A, I think 10 times before, these collections are not kept in the V&A. They are kept in another place. I think it's a small museum of V&A in Covent Garden. It's called a theatre museum or something. It's called Theatre Museum in Covent Garden. And by the time I think I visited once as well, and in the Covent Garden, that particular exhibition, I think I didn't have any impression of that particular exhibition. I don't know why. And by the time when I visit this new exhibition or the new way of presenting that collection, even though it's from the same collection, but Godfrey, the curator of this collection, said when the whole collection was in Covent Garden, they presented in a chronological way how this history are from that ancient time, UK. It's a chronological way of displaying all this collection. So even though for me, I of course for me it's also very useful as well, but it's not really interesting, and it's also for some other people maybe they are not familiar with the theaters. Why this history of UK theater relevant to me? So I think by the time Godfrey said to me that he must take another angle or perspective to restage all this collection in the V&A. So when I visit V&A, he explained to me that he used the creative process of a theater production to present for the new audience. So I hope you can still find, but I'm not sure whether they are still having this exhibition in V&A. But they break down the whole exhibition into different areas. Like first is creating. So in creating this session, I can see a lot of manuscript from the playwright because this is the starting point of a production. And later on, you can see the manuscript, and then producing. So in producing, you can see this is some letters and some correspondence of performers with the theater companies. And later on, they have also have costumes. I think it's costume from Lion King. And afterwards, they have promotion. So they have a lot of like handbills and also playbills and also these posters. And I think to me, it's really engaging perspective to see all this collection, even though it's the same set of collection. But with the eye and also the vision from a curator, you know how these objects could be relevant and also interesting to the new audience. Because if they don't have, maybe they don't have that much interest to know about the history of UK theatre, but they must have a lot of interest of how production is created. And I think Godfrey gives a lot of like inspiration and also give a lot of new insight for the museum as well to make this collection more vibrant to the new audience. And of course, he told me that there's a lot of curators in V&A. They have a lot of competition between different departments. So they need to ensure that they have enough like visitors for each department. So by the time, of course, Godfrey he's very honest to share with me because of having this kind of pressure that he cannot using the old way to present the collection. He must find the new way so as to find more new audience and to ensure that this more audience and new audience will come to see this collection. And by the time, I think because of the David Bowie's exhibition, when I did the interview with Godfrey, he said the V&A collection of theaters, I think they maintain as the second place for the most popular, receive a lot of audience, like the second place. So they can keep the record. And I think they really did a very wonderful job for restage their collection. Decentralization. I think I have 5 more minutes to go. And what is this centralization about? When I visit this Belgium, this is Center for Expertise for Cultural Heritage of Performing Arts in Finland. This is not an archive. It's not a museum, and not a documentation center. It's a center like IATC, like what I'm working. And by the time when I visit, so I can't take much photo because they have nothing for me to take photos. And also for the NT as well, the NT and National Theatre Archive, you can't take photos because different institutes and archives, they have different policies of treating their collection. So some of them, they may not allow you to take photos. And this particular center is not for collecting. It's for knowledge sharing and also for networking. Because they know in their city and in their region, the country, they cannot, maybe it's about the policy and also the resources. They may not have a museum or like a documentation center that I just mentioned about, but they still have the need to collect the archival materials. So they and also the director shared with me that some of the theater companies, they may not want to donate their collection to a centralized institute because they may cause a lot of like issues. Because once you donate, maybe they concern about the accessibility, and also they concern if they can keep their own collection, maybe it's more useful for the theater company. So there's a lot of like different reasons for them for not to donate. And this center, instead of like ask them to give their collection to a centralized institute, they let their administrators and also the people working in the theater company to know how to do your own archive. Even though the director told me that Vera told me that even though it's just an Excel table, you can start up your way of doing your own documentation for your theater company. So and they also treat make the center as hub for sharing all this professional knowledge. They may provide a lot of workshops and also expertise to go to the theater companies to help them to set up their own archives. And later on, they will collect all this information. And if someone would like to know, maybe I would like to know how the Belgium's dance companies, you can go to this center and then they will provide you further information how you could be able to retrieve this information. But I think now, after I think 2 years after, and because of the COVID itself, some of their policies may change, and Mirva is no longer working in the center. So if you have interested to know more about the center, maybe you can find some more updated information online. But in 2019, I invite Vella to come Hong Kong to share the same, what I just mentioned about to you, because she also think in Hong Kong, because of the limited of space, because of the policy and some other limitation that we are now encountering in Hong Kong, the decentralization way of working with the archival materials and also collections may fit the model for Hong Kong. So I invite her to come Hong Kong to share her model in Belgium as well. And so it's something that I think is end of my presentation, but by the end of it, I would like to share with you Tony Sant, Dr. Tony Sant, from articles that he contributed for us for the IPC, and he's also our keynote speaker for the Business conference later on. And what he talked about in the article is about stock fixing stuff, on the politics of preserving performance. And of course, you can take a look of this article on our ITC website. Of course, he's not like not saying that you shouldn't produce, but I think in Hong Kong in particular, for our movement, we really had too many productions, too many, and we don't have our strategies or our expertise to preserve all these memories. And it's something that we really need to start now to think or to rethink what we could be reserved and also conserve, and also to make use of our cultural treasure to engage our new audience. And I think it's something that even though I'm not an archivist, as I told you by the beginning of the presentation, but I'm still very passionate of passing on all these experiences and to advocate our practitioner to learn. Of course, I'm not really familiar with teaching and talking, and to advocate our practitioners to build up or to build up their awareness of starting to archive. Because performance, I know everyone, performance is hard to be documented. Even though in the video or in a video, we can't really document a performance. So in Tony Sant's article, he said performance preservation is an exercise in the preservation of something other than a performance. So I think it's really a good remarks for me as well, and also for Tony Sant, the article for all of us. I've listed some of the Hong Kong, some are online and some are physical archive, to be shared with you by the end of this presentation. And Zhongying Theatre Archive, you can visit them. It's a physical archive that they started up, I think, 5 years ago. And Sony is the online archive. And also CUHK and also APA as well. They have a good collection of APA. And maybe I can also leave this PowerPoint to you, or so you can later on find more information about the local practices in our city. So it's the end of my information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernice. Thank you. I'll let you rest a bit, drink some water. And so while you're resting, I see Constance here, our librarian, and I would like to invite Constance if you have any feedback or if there are any questions that you would like to, have a dialogue with Bernice.
Well, from the PowerPoint, I really want the answer. You saw that because I think with every audiences or any productions, the highlight is the active performances. So after that, then the energy goes up and down, and then all the material will be put aside or just thrown away, and then that is the where the production can decided actually should start. So actually, it should start right from the beginning when you start the collection, when you send the production in this that period as well. So I agree when we should not. Yes, you should start thinking about yes. It's what like the the segments that I just mentioned about our the theme is called dramaturgies of collecting. It's because by the time you collect, you really have to think before you collect. And of course, collecting, it's something, it could be political, because something to be documented or something not to be documented is a selection. And it could make some issues behind the collecting. So I think it's also really good topics for us to share more among our practitioners. And by the time I think in Hong Kong with limited space and also resources, how to document things and what things should be documented is something we really have to discuss. One can do what yes.
Yeah, that's true. So I think this is a very good advertisement. I really encourage everyone to join the conference, because this is a really rare occasion that it happens in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of scholars and people in the industry, with this expertise who will share their experiences, and also the delegates will visit our library as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can have a dialogue on archiving and how we preserve our history and all the performing arts culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So any other audience or students, teachers, you have a question or or feedback as well, feel free to voice. Yeah. And those who are online, you can also ask questions and feedback as well.
Yes.
Anyone? Any? And you can just speak up and it will be fine. Yeah.
I have I'm not an archivist. Sorry, a statement. But I've had some opportunities to visit some archive, but in music. Expert in drama. I know Chitang is here as well. I visited some European music archives, and usually, because you mentioned that one of the challenges is the lack of expertise.
Yes.
Usually, for instance, in European archives, they are linked to some like foundations, some fundings, and they would offer some like grants, not a lot, but some grants, and this was it was a prestige for like research students or even professors to apply for it, so that it enrich that the resume too. Yeah, I think. But I rarely see this kind of things in Hong Kong. I'm just curious, is it this kind of ecosystem is not working here? I do see that. So you just show that Asia archives, so that they do offer grants, but it's just limited to photography stuff. But for others, it seems that of course, for students, it's still good to apply for them, and they have the expertise.
Yes.
Do you think? Yeah, do you have a comment?
I think in Hong Kong, we may not have that particular grant.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a society, Hong Kong Archive Society, and of course, archive is not only on performing arts. They have a lot of expertise. Archivists working in like HSBC or some commercial areas, and I think archive a society, they may have some courses but not grants for archivists. And I think in Hong Kong, if we could have chance to receive some grants, maybe the Arts Council, you can I actually have to say Arts Council, they have a bit more awareness of keeping documents, and also to like they put more resources on documentation, because recently they just launched their oral history project online, and I think if some people may interested to like do a certificate overseas, or receive some grants, maybe ADC is a way out, and I also think even though for Asia as well, I hardly, maybe I don't know, some network or some connections among these cities, because so that's why CIMAS is they're looking for some Asian network to be built after this conference, because in Europe they did have a lot of like association, or like CIMAS is a association with this group of expertise that they can share experience, and at least they will know the trends, and they can to share what they are encountering, difficulties or resources. Then but in Hong Kong or even in Asia, I hardly find this kind of like connections. So I think connection and build up all this relationship and networking is also very important. And I have to say but it's because in Hong Kong, because of all these difficulties that we encounter, and I may not have chance to visit China yet, but I'm really looking forward to know more about from China, because in China, because of the they have national strategies of documenting their performing arts. They also did a great job in China, and with the music as well. They just one of our speakers are from China, and they finished an online archives about the world music. So I think it's also for my next trip, if I have chance or time. Maybe you can do it for me, like visiting some Asia cities and know about their practices.
It's very interesting that from the local Hong Kong Arts Development Council, so most of the funding is for publication.
Yes.
Say, for example, oral history publication. And that's the mentality, of most of the practitioners or the scholars here who are thinking about archiving.
Yes.
Is doing a publication. But from your presentation, it opens our mind to think about how we curate archiving and how we present them. And the dramaturgy of it is a really, striking and eye-opening concept that we can think about, because by archiving, we are not only preserving or documenting the history of it, but the progress of it.
Yes.
Yes. I still remember when I studied in London, I visit BNA a lot because they have a young scholars program, and they allowed us to visit them, as much as we want, because we're doing research. And so this kind of support for young practitioners or scholars is very, very valuable, for us to engage in that community. And I really remember when I first visited VNA, and I can see Carol Churchill's early letters with the producers and the theaters, and to negotiate the contract and everything. That's a very, valuable resources for our research as well, to see how the playwriting industry develops in that country.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also, by the time when I was in the study trip in London, I also visit the Wombat dance company. And it's also something that I learned from Wombat, because Wombat dance company, not theater company, Wombat dance company, they work with the St. Martin's School of Design in costume. And by the time when I visit the the companies, they just had a workshop with the professor from St. Martin, and I joined the workshop. And they make use of the archival materials of the Rumbat Dance Company and show the students what costume making is about. And it's a very interesting and very interactive workshop that I've ever joined in making all these objects to be related to your studies. Because the participant of that workshop, I'm just an observer, but the participants are from the St. Martin's, the design school, some students. So they really can touch the costumes. And by the time the archivists, they use a very interesting way of presenting these objects. They didn't tell the students what is the background of this costume is about. And they asked the students to guess and also to learn from the appearance of that objects. So they create a lot of questions, and also because it's a very interactive workshop. And by the end of the workshop, the archivists show all this background of this particular a lot of news clipping as well. Not only the costume's background. The design of it, and a lot of materials that the archivists showed for the students. So it's really for me to make use of these materials to work with an institute or performing arts institute, that we can create a lot of opportunities to let these objects alive.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very important.
When I residence in Odin Theatre, founded by Eugenio Barbara, one of the theatre guru or master, and I was involved in the archiving as well, because over 10 years ago, Eugenio already had this idea to donate everything of the theatre company to a university to build the archives, so that for future scholars or theatre practitioners, they can go to the university to reference to it and then see all the videos and performances. And they also donate all the main costume of their performances to the museum in the little town where their company was. So I think this kind of long-term planning, because their heritage is so huge, and it really took them over 10 years to gradually build up the Excel file and then scanning all the letters, and then gradually donating everything to the university, so that you can now go to that university and then there is a huge collection of their company. I think this is also one of the models that we can take reference to.
Yes, I think you also share a lot about the vision of petition or some theatre companies, like artistic directors or the person in charge. It's really some of them, like I just mentioned about Sunni, Danny Yong, he kept everything well. and as long as you keep all these things well, and people can assess it, and they can make narratives of it. And it's something that important for an artist to be visible as well. Not only in present, but also in future. And I think we almost do, but the final remarks for me is because I think everyone knows it's a digitized world that we are encountering. And also the digitized world, of course, they provide a lot of opportunities and advantage for us to keep our collection. But also in Hong Kong, but I don't think it's, of course, they have a lot of advantage, but on the other hand, they also create a lot of crisis as well. Because recently, I think you must know that we no longer print the house program. And if you visit the leaflet racks in the cultural center, you can only see arts festivals leaflets. Physical leaflets. Of course, after the COVID, because of the lack of resources and the financial problems, our local theatre companies prefer not to do any printing. and it makes us very difficult to collect. And because we produce a lot, and we can't find the way to keep it and to document, because online is something really easy to be amended, to erase, and also you can easily like make a production disappear.
Yes.
And how we could still preserve our performing arts and performance well in this digitized world is something really challenging.
Yeah.
And it makes us really, I think compared to 10 years time, it makes me even more difficult. If I could have chance to do the yearbook, I think now it's more difficult for me to collect the information as well. Because by the time 10 years ago, I can still go to the cultural center to collect the
Handbills
and everything. And how I can, easily you can, one performance could be like disappeared after they perform. So please, I think digital world is something good, but if maybe we need to have some more strategies to respond to this development of digitized
Yeah, time is short, so I think it's a very good ending to today's talk. And
Thank you so much for coming. And if you have any comments or if you want to have further chats, so feel free to go ahead and
and join the conference.
join the conference. Yes. Tony will come to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And also we have Minako 係日本早稻田演劇博物館嘅前館長。She's also had a lot of great experience as well. And other 我哋都請咗a speaker from India. And Dr. Porta, he's a playwright as well. So he's going to share about to make use of the archival materials. And yes, he's a great and Danny is to be another interview.
So let's continue the conversation, and then we just finish for now.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you.
Okay.